Why am I still living at my mother's house? Let's talk about it. Yeah? Y'all got so much to say. I have some responses. On Talk About It Tuesdays, I typically like to have an expert come and talk to you guys, somebody else's voice other than mine, about a specific topic. But being that this topic today that we're talking on this Talk About It Tuesday is my life, I'm the expert here. So let's jump into it. Before you try to tell me I need to be self-reliant, I am a human being first. We are herd creatures, which means our survival tactics, our survival rate increases when there's more of us, just like that with lions, just like that with hyenas, just like that with coyotes, just like that with wolves, with deer, killer whales, dolphins, penguins, all these other motherfucking animals in the animal kingdom understand that they need a herd in order to survive in this world. But for some motherfucking reason here in America, y'all think y'all can do the shit alone. So first we're going to talk about how much I am a human being having a human experience, and so therefore I need a herd. So you ain't going to take that from me because you got this fucked up thinking. And then, in addition to needing a herd, I have been injured more than once. Let's go down my timeline. Yeah. 2017, I was invited back home by my mother because I had some internal issues with my stomach due to working 3 jobs and going to 2 different schools. Hence, I was in hypomania. That's a bipolar symptom on which I could do all that I was doing, but it was wearing on my body to the point that I passed out right in my walkway of my apartment. My security guard had to come close the door and make sure I was in the house and I was okay and didn't need medical support. So after that, my mom invited me back in. I moved back into my mom's house in July of 2017 for her to only put me out in November of 2017 because she didn't like how I was raising my daughter. 4 months later. Then here we are in 2018. I moved into my friend's house and was there for a little bit. During that time while I was dating, I experienced a sexual assault on a date. Okay? I was working, had one of the best jobs. I had a better job than I had when I was in 2017. But then 2020, after I moved into an apartment with someone I did end up getting into a relationship with and was with this man for about 3 years and was planning on getting married to, I had my journal stolen in the midst of me processing my childhood molestation and my mother turning around and not helping me when I came to her by my stepson. Yeah. So my stepson stole my journal and took it to his mother, my ex's baby mama. And me and her don't get along. So this is what happened in 2020. While I was dealing with all of that in 2020, this is still 2020, my journal's being stolen in the middle of me processing stuff. And I confront my mom about me telling her about my molestation and she didn't do anything about it. I am also witnessing my first real evidence of malpractice within the mental health field as I have a Hispanic clinician overseeing sibling set of a boy and a girl complete malpractice because she was in Burbank area during the pandemic and didn't want to come down to the Antelope Valley because during the pandemic we moved our in-person services to virtual because of COVID. However, we were considered first responders even though COVID was going on at its most predominant rate, the highest rate that it can exchange. We were still required to go out. We were told to suit up, put them gloves on, put that mask on, and have your hand sanitizer because these families still need support. And I saw this clinician left and right trying to figure out ways on not to go to the home. Imagine the paramedics not wanting to come out. Imagine the nurse not wanting to come to your room. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. We signed up for this shit. And it hurt my heart to know that we were the ones that they were supposed to call in a crisis. and the ones that they're supposed to call in a crisis aren't showing up. That broke me, all within 2020. After I decided I can't stay in that house anymore, I can't work that job anymore. 2017 told me that I could not go back to my mother, so therefore I went to my father in 2021. However, my father went to a bowling tournament to drop my daughter off back in California. Because of the stress of everything that I had going on, I was not present. I was not giving my daughter attention, and she was falling behind in her schoolwork. So my mother offered. I didn't ask her. I told her no several times and tried to get present and do the things that I needed to do to be on top of Kaden, but I kept losing it and losing it. And I said, my baby's education is suffering while I'm suffering, and I can deal with the emotional abuse and help her heal from that. But going back and trying to teach her fundamental educational things that she should have at this developmental stage in her life is going to be hell to try to do by the time I get ready. So I made the conscious decision to send my daughter to my mother, knowing that my mother was emotionally abusive, because I needed what my mother could give her was attention and support with education. And there's so many adults who have to learn emotional intelligence and heal from the traumas of their parents. And I saw, okay, this baby's not going to go through much more than anybody else would. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be hard. And it doesn't mean that it's unnecessary on my mom's part. However, I made a very hard decision. It was not an easy decision to send my daughter back to my mom, even though my mom was just offering to do it. I didn't ask my mom to do it. I didn't drop my daughter off and didn't come back. My mom begged for her. The psychosis in 2021 ended up being raped and beaten. See, my aunt lied and said that she gave me medicine when she didn't give me medicine, when she saw that I was clearly not coherent. And had she given me my Seroquel, I wouldn't have been able to wander, because Seroquel has sedative side effects. So it would have put me to sleep, and it would have canceled the psychosis, because Seroquel is an antipsychotic. So had she given me the Seroquel like she said she did, then I wouldn't have been able to wander, which is why I got beaten and raped. And my aunt is a registered nurse of 30 plus years. This is my family. 2022, I experienced psychosis again. And this time I experienced it because of a lack of sleep and stress. I had moved out of my mother's house, out of my dad's house in St. Louis, because I couldn't take being in the house. It was too many flashbacks from that night, because the psychotic event started in the house. And so then I decided I can't live here. I was talking to someone. I went and moved in with that person in 2021. End of 2021 through 2022. And while I was staying there, I got a job, was working, experienced again harassment. When you look like me and you shape like me, it don't matter where you go, people are going to hate. And it's the motherfuckers that hate at your job that make life hell. So I have the documentation of that too, that I had to submit a whole ass case to the state of Nevada about the work harassment that I was experiencing. Again, if you have mental illness, having issues at work is a sign of mental illness. While everybody wants me to go get a job, getting a job is not my problem. Keeping it is. Which makes it a mental health issue. Whether it's me and my inability to socialize correctly, or if I'm saying what I'm saying is true, and it's just this narcissistic ass culture in the corporate world, and I'm not with that narcissistic shit. I'ma call you on your shit every motherfucking time. I don't care what your degree is. I don't care what your licensing is. I don't care how long you've been here. I don't care. Bullshit is bullshit. And some of these motherfuckers don't got the guts to call motherfuckers on it. But I do. It's called accountability. And your degree does not make you less accountable. Neither does your license. So I experienced psychosis in 2022, was hospitalized for 14 days and was almost institutionalized because I failed the psychotic test 3 times and had to beg them to give it to me a 4th time when I did become coherent. I was going to be institutionalized. Why motherfuckers want to try to tell me that I'm just out here leaning and leeching off my mama. I was about to be leaning and leeching off the state permanently. In 2022, also, while in the middle of changing jobs from the workplace harassment, I get hit by a car walking home from the park. So I didn't have anyone in Vegas to help me get to and from my physical therapy appointments. Luckily, the physical therapy, my attorney's office was able to find one right around the corner from me. But I got hit by a car. My body got hit by the car. Luckily, I didn't break any bones, but I did have a lot of injuries elsewhere. And because I didn't have any money, because I didn't have anyone there, I had to walk my injured body around the corner to physical therapy. That's 2022. May 2023, after I got a job, after almost being institutionalized, I got a job at one of the highest positions that you could get from my career as a rehabilitation specialist. Now, I could transfer into other positions that are much higher as long as I increase my education. But for my education level and experience level, to be a floater rehabilitation specialist for a very large agency is quite a high ranking when you're talking about being able to be put anywhere at any time so that the company doesn't go without coverage. Okay? I witnessed malpractice there. Again, I worked in the intensive unit. So these families in these cases are very extreme. And so if we have clinicians malpracticing in these areas, you're leaving some really severe damage on some people who are already really damaged. While I experienced witnessing malpractice, that sent me into psychosis for the 3rd time. Sorry, is that the 4th? 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. I experienced psychosis not only for the 4th time, but consecutively for 4 years. One each time, just not even always a year apart, just within a year. This is the longest that I have gone without a psychotic episode in the last 4 years. I have done a full 12 months and not experienced psychosis or had to be hospitalized. And everybody wants to tell me how I need to lean on myself and lean on and not be leeching on my motherfucking mother, where you don't even know my story. The fact that I have gone 12 months and not been hospitalized, I am on that path. But you don't get to tell me and determine how quick I should be down this route. You truly don't even understand what I'm going through, what my challenges are, and what my true successes is. You're taking my life, looking at the challenges that I have, and putting how uncomfortable it would be for you to be in there, and then determining what success would look like for you in my shoes. Wear your own goddamn shoes. My definition of success is going to look very different than yours. And you don't know why I'm here. This is why you keep your judgments to yourself. This is why your words of encouragement are, you got this, keep going, you're doing great. Not full of what should and should and should and should. Because that's shame. I know I need to be independent, but I also know I have a mental health disorder that if I'm not careful and I go load my plate up, I'll be out here talking to the trees, for real, and either bent over by somebody I don't know or in somebody's psych ward. Our challenges are not the same. So don't come to me with the way that you would address your challenges, because they're not the same. Especially if you don't even have a background of supporting people addressing other people's challenges. And you really don't know what you're doing. Because your lens is really limited to just what you have seen, what you have learned, what you have witnessed. But in making sense of my anger in all of this, I heard this quote that said, if you live off people's praises, you'll die off their criticism. I tell myself, you have been doing amazing. The Hulk, Superman, and Wonder Woman ain't got shit on your mental strength combined. Combine those motherfuckers with the Green Lantern's ring. Ain't got shit on your mental health. Strong than a bitch. And the issue was, for a moment, just for a moment, I allowed myself to live off your praises, which is why I died on your criticism. But I resurrect myself and remind myself, your criticism doesn't mean shit.